Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kseniya and I make videos for people who are going through the family immigration process. In today's video, we're going to talk about the form I-131. We have some very important news from USCIS. Starting October 11th, 2024, you will be required to use the new edition of this form. And in today's video, I will guide you through filling out this form step by step for people who are applying for advance parole on the basis of their pending family-based adjustment of status application. So if you scroll down on this page, in the forms and document downloads, you will be able to see both the new PDF of the form as well as the new form instructions. I suggest to fill out all USCIS applications in the Adobe Acrobat Reader for desktop. Make sure that this is the expiration date you are looking at, as well as the edition date on the bottom of this form. So again, remember that this is the guide for those of you who are applying for advance parole based on the family-based adjustment of status case. I unfortunately am not qualified or experienced in discussing any other types of travel or parole documents for other categories. So we're going to start here. First, you will need to select your application type, and let me just show you the different application types which span 4 different pages of this form. In the meantime, while waiting for your family-based adjustment of status, you will be applying for something known as advance parole. So you can skip this part, which says re-entry permit. You can skip this part, which says refugee travel document. You can skip this part, that is the travel authorization for TPS holders. And we're going to focus on this part, advance parole document. Your application type for family-based adjustment of status applicants will be 5A, which is the pending form I-485. Provide the receipt number of your form I-485 only if you have already filed your I-485 form and you decided not to send this travel document application with your entire packet and are doing it now later on. So if you are submitting this form together with your I-485 application, you can simply leave this line blank because you're simply not going to have the receipt number for this form. But this is still going to be your category. I also recommend that while filling out this form, you refer to the form instructions. You will see that the instructions will include some general language that says, even if you apply for advance parole, you're not guaranteed to receive it, and you're also not guaranteed to be allowed to enter back into the United States. And that is a general statement. I will tell you that for family-based applicants specifically, most of the time there are absolutely no issues using advance parole except for certain cases. One of the reasons they will deny your advance parole document is if you currently are or have ever been a J-1 visa holder who was subjected to 2-year foreign residence requirement and you did not obtain a waiver or you didn't fulfill your requirement, they will not issue you an advance parole document. And they will also not issue it to you if you are in one of the immigration proceedings listed in this point, so that you don't jeopardize your entire case and trigger an entry bar or something like that. They do talk about the consequences of not applying for advance parole if you have applied for adjustment of status. As you may know, if you apply for adjustment of status, once you do that, you can't really leave the country because that will be considered an abandonment of your I-485 case. And For that reason, you should apply for advance parole. But they do talk about specific visa categories that will allow you to travel outside the US without advance parole that will not compromise your case. So that includes people who hold an H visa and their dependents, L visa and their dependents, K3 and K4 visa holders, V visas and their dependents, as long as these visas are still valid. Once you selected the application type, we can skip the following pages which do not apply to us, and we're moving on to part 2. So provide your name. By the way, you do not have to type in all capital letters. That is just my personal preference. And make sure that you are providing the name that is consistent with the rest of your applications, especially for people who have changed their name after marriage. USCIS does permit you to use your new married name in your green card applications. And in this Item 2, you can mention any other names you have ever used, including names and variations of spellings of your names that you have ever used in other applications or documents, or maiden names, and even nicknames that you have used on documents and applications, which means do not provide nicknames that your family calls you or your friends. Only include nicknames or aliases that you may have been using in applications, official documents, etc. So for example, Jane had a slightly different spelling on one of her official documents, so she needs to indicate it here. Next, provide the current mailing address. In care of name means that if somebody else at this address will be receiving mail on your behalf, that you trust this person to receive mail on your behalf, then you can put their name here. But if you are the person that will be receiving mail at this address personally, you can just skip this line and move forward to the address itself. Once you provide this address, we can move on to current physical address. If your current physical address where you actually live and your mailing address are the same, then you can leave this section blank, or you can also write same. If it is different than your mailing address, then obviously input your actual residency address here. Moving on, provide your alien registration number if you have one. If you have ever had an alien number from other cases, then you can indicate it here. Provide your country of birth, country of citizenship or nationality, your gender, date of birth, and your US Social Security number if you have one yet. And if you have an online account number, you can provide it here. Keep in mind, though, that if you submitted your I-130 petition online, that would be the account number of your petitioner. So do not input this number here, as it is not your personal USCIS online account number. Next, class of admission. So class of admission is what kind of visa type you were issued most recently on your most recent I-94. If you entered the country on one visa type and since then changed your visa type, you will input the most recently issued class of admission. Same applies to the form I-94 number. If your status since arrival to the US has changed, most likely your I-797 receipt notice will include your new I-94 arrival departure number, which is what you will input here. Moving on, provide the expiration date of authorized state shown on your I-94. Let's say, for example, you arrived on a student visa status. Then in that case, your date of authorized stay will probably say D/S. In that case, you can leave this blank, and after printing this form, you can write in D/S in pen. And if you have an e-medical US parole ID, then you can include that here, but this doesn't apply to us. So the next subsection is called information about them. We can completely skip this entire part because this is only the section for people who are applying for parole on behalf of someone else. Moving on to part 3, provide your biometric/biographic information. And moving on to part 4, this is additional processing information. So if you have ever been in any exclusion, deportation, or removal proceedings, answer yes or no. If you have ever had a re-entry permit or a refugee travel document, also answer yes or no. Provide this information if you answered yes. If you have ever been given an advance parole document in the past, say yes or no. If you answer yes, you will then have to indicate that here. So let's say, for example, before applying for family-based adjustment, you were a DACA holder and you did receive an advance parole document for DACA. So here you can say, for example, that it is still in your possession. You would only say that this document is attached if you are applying for a replacement or change of something on this document and USCIS requires you to send them the original. Answer the following questions. Are you requesting a replacement of your travel document? Most likely you are going to answer no because this is your first time applying as a family-based applicant, for example. But if you do end up answering yes to any of these questions, you will then be asked to provide information whether or not you are asking the document to be reissued to you or replaced because of something that was invalid in your document. Maybe your name was spelled wrong, maybe your A number was wrong, something like that. Maybe the photo was wrong. And if you are applying for a replacement because of USCIS error, not your own error, but USCIS error, in that case, you actually do not have to pay a fee. So moving on, if you are applying for advance parole, we then will need to skip to part 7. So this does not apply to us. Parts 5 and 6 don't apply to us. So we're going to go straight to part 7. Provide the date of your intended departure. You can just say an approximate date and the purpose of your trip, and provide the list of countries where you intend to travel. Next, indicate how many trips do you intend to take with this document and provide the expected length of your trip. So it is safe to put 30 days. Of course, it can be longer or shorter depending on how much time you need. We do not need to complete part 8 because this is only for people who are applying for initial parole, parole in place, or re-parole. We can also skip this part of employment authorization for new period of parole. This does not relate to us. And moving on to part 10, provide your phone number, mobile phone number. You can simply repeat it if it's the same, and your email address. Next, type in the date of the signature, and once you print this form, you must sign this form using a pen. Do not sign this form electronically or in Adobe or anything like that. You must sign it in pen. If somebody interpreted this form for you, then you can provide their information here. If not, you can simply skip it. And if somebody prepared this form for you, you can also indicate their name and information here. If nobody but you prepared this form, you can leave it blank. And this is the last part, the additional information part. Even if you did not have any additional information to include in this form, please don't forget to still write at least your name in the top part of this form and alien number, of course, if you have one. Do not leave your name blank on this last page. In terms of evidence for this form, on page 22 of the form instructions, you will find the required evidence for all categories. First, you will need to provide a copy of a photo identity document, which is usually the biographical page of your passport, the one that contains your photo. You will need to include any document given to you by USCIS that shows your current status. So that could be, for example, your most recently issued I-94 or maybe an I-797 receipt notice that shows your change of status, for example. And one of the following documents, a receipt notice copy of your I-485 application if you are sending your I-131 form separately. If you're sending them in the same packet, you obviously do not need to provide the copy of your I-485 receipt. You physically would not be able to produce one. And you will also notice that you do not need to provide an explanation or any evidence explaining why you need this advance parole document if you are applying as part of your I-485 application. This explanation is only necessary for all these other types of advance parole applicants in special categories, such as the case for DACA, for example. But for especially family-based adjustment applicants, aside from the short explanation that you included in Part 7 of this form, you do not need to attach any additional evidence explaining why they need to approve your form. You must also attach 2 passport-style photographs for advance parole applicants who are submitting their applications together with their I-485. Typically, you do not need to submit any additional photographs. Next, let's talk about the fee. Anyone who filed their adjustment of status application after April 1st, 2024 must pay the full fee of $630. If you filed your I-485 application before April 1st, 2024, and you still did not receive your green card, in that case, your advance parole fee should be $0. And now let's talk about where you have to file this case. As applicants for adjustment of status, you are not yet eligible to file this form online, so you must send it by mail. If you click on this link, that will take you to direct filing addresses for this form. Advance parole is in this section, and you scroll down to all other adjustment of status applicants. Together with your I-485 form, then this form will go in the same packet where you would normally send your adjustment of status application. If you already received your I-485 receipt and you're sending your advance parole document later on, and you have the following receipt types for your form, then you will click this box, and here you will find your state and find the address where to send it. If your I-485 receipt notice has the following letters, then you will click this link and find your state and corresponding address here. So I hope that you found this guide useful. Let me know if you have any additional questions. Subscribe to my channel if you found this video useful. Like this video so more people can see it. And I hope to see you guys in my next videos. Bye!